Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
We've all heard about angels. Is there any truth to their existence? Do they actually walk among us? If so, how can we connect with them? Mission Evolution Radio Show is coming to you around the world on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net. With us this hour to discuss finding and connecting with angels is Dr. Scott Guerin. The driving force behind Scott's life has been a passion for unraveling the mysteries of God, universe, source, and the relationship with humanity. With 2 master's degrees and a doctorate in human development and a focus on spiritual evolution, Scott's journey has delved into the profound realms of the human spirit. His new book in his Angel in Training series is Looking for Angels, a guide to understanding and connecting with angels. His website, angelintraining.org. Scott, thanks so much for joining us on Mission Evolution.
Well, thank you, Gwilda, and hope you're having a good day.
I am, absolutely. Sun's out, I'm happy. So Scott, how did you become interested in the topic of angels?
Well, I always have. From the time I was, like adolescence, I was just fascinated about, the spiritual life, about things in general, kind of why we here, those types of things.
And those small questions, right?
Yeah, no, but for some reason I wasn't interested in my G.I. Joe or whatever toys I was into, but as much as that. And I found the most informative times were going to church and listening to the sermons. And we were raised in a Lutheran church, and so most times we didn't want to go. My brothers and sisters and I didn't want to go, but we had to. But I was fascinated about the sermons because it was more, educational and teaching, that type of thing. And I was told in the Lutheran church you have confirmation, which is 7th and 8th grade, and it's like one night a week you go to classes, and then you have to do certain things on certain Sundays. My brothers and sister told me that the second year you're going to have to write down notes on the sermons and hand them in. And so I'm like, well, okay, it doesn't matter to me. But I was so interested in the sermons that I started doing that the year before. And I didn't hand them in. They weren't required yet, but I took notes and I filed them. Even though I was not a great student at that time, I was just into it. So that happened the first year. The second year, it came to where we had to hand them in. And so I took down the notes, and a couple of weeks, I noticed that the sermons were the same. Like he repeated the sermons from a year ago, a year earlier. And they weren't like holiday sermons. They were just like general sermons that they were the same.
My
So
goodness.
there must be some, my mind, I'm like, there must be some reason. There must be, did God tell him that we didn't get it? We had to hear it again. Like, or there was new people in, must be some reason. But I was a kid and he was a larger than life, figure or minister. And it took me weeks to get up the nerve to ask him about it. And over those weeks, he had one or two other, sermons that he repeated. So I got him, quiet one Sunday after service. No one was around. I said, Pastor, I see that you repeated some sermons from a year ago, and I was just wondering, like, why did this happen? Did we miss something? What? And he put his hand on my shoulder and he looked at me and he said, Scott, this is a tough job. And so my world like cracked. That's what I say. It cracked in half because my lifeline to God was through him. And this was a job for him. And even though he was a wonderful person and very, caring and a great, pastor, it just, signaled to me that I had to look elsewhere, not only in church, but outside of that. So I uh, continued a journey outside. We left the Lutheran Church as a family and went into the non-denominational Christian fundamentalists side of things for a while, and I liked that because it was all organized. It got to rub me the wrong way eventually, but because obviously if you didn't do it that way, you were going to go to hell.
Right.
And
Yeah.
but I liked what I made, and I just realized this like last year, that the thing that really drew me in was the if you know of that movement, they kind of said that you had a you can get a personal relationship with Jesus, and it was that connection that initially drew me in to that religion, and
Okay. So,
and I like
have
that.
have you personally had any direct contact with angels or the angelic realm?
Yes, and that's where my journey started back then. But I went through a couple different Protestant denominations and got into meditation. And then about 2 years ago, when I started the book Looking for Angels, and working with Nicole Bigley, my co-author, who is a psychic intuitive, I really started opening my mind and my heart to the angelic world. And so it started little by little. I mean, the first time we had a guest, I work on the podcast, a psychic story with Nicole, and we had an angel communicator. One weekly guest, and she said, like, all you have to do is, if you want an angel, if you want an animal spirit guide, you just ask for one. So I'm like, okay, I'll ask for one. So one night went to bed, and I said, if I could please have an animal spirit, I would really like that. And the next morning, as clear as a bell, in my mind's eye, I have a leopard still here after a year and a half. I call her Shira, and she is my animal spirit guide, with me all the time. And it's almost
So,
so real. Yeah.
what's the difference between an animal spirit guide and an angel?
Well, they are part of the angelic, maybe not the angelic realm, the spiritual realm. Um, Angels can be in the form of animals, souls and spirits can be that way. But the animal spirit is more symbolic, I would say, because they're there to provide, more general, like clarity, strength, direction,
S-
reminder.
So, do those things relate to the traits of the particular animal?
I believe so. Sometimes, however, some people experience animal spirits as a past loved one, that shows up, a bird or an animal, woodland animal, as a reminder, or even as possibly a past loved one or spirit. Um, so yeah, the way I take it, and the way I view Shira is, she's a protector. The leopards are watchers. They watch. They look ahead. And she's always around, and it's really great to have. And then the next interaction with the spirit world, I didn't even ask for this. When we are growing up, we had a family friend who was a teacher at our high school, and all my brothers and sisters had him, and I had him as well. His name was Bob, and he is a teacher at heart, like a teacher of teachers. That's who he is. And I gravitated to him about all areas, that we worked with, and photography and graphic arts and this and that. He was our wrestling coach, and he took a bunch of kids on bike rides in the summer. And just the way he was, he's always explaining things. And he once called. I talked with him one day about 10 years ago. He said, "Hey, I was up by you the other day with his wife, and we stopped by a restaurant." And I said, "Why didn't you call me? It's only a mile away from my house." And so he said, "Well, we were busy and we had to get back." So fast forward to last year, um, I was driving with my wife by that same restaurant. He had passed in 2015, mesothelioma. And so this was almost 10 years later, driving by the restaurant, and um, I just heard as clear as a bell in my mind's ear, um, I was at that restaurant. I told you about that, in his voice, in Bob's voice, and it really was tremendous to me to hear that. And I welcomed that. I'm like, Bob, thank you for being here.
So
Um,
let me back up a little bit. So this is a spirit of someone that's crossed. Is
yes.
that necessarily the spirit of an angel, or are they different?
I mean, yeah, they are different. It's kind of how I got open into the non-physical spiritual world, was by, Shira and Bob. And then it's kind of moved on from there. And I have a story in a second that I'll tell you that just happened. But very quickly, most religions believe that as the physical universe was being made, separate, was being made at some point in time, physicality came into existence, um, in planets and birds and animals and people. Then angels were created. So angels, as far as the sacred texts go, are a separate species in a sense, non-human, never incarnated, but their role is to help those, to help everyone, to help life um, ascend to God and make connections with God and love and light and all that. Briefly, that's kind of the take I have on it, is that angels are different than humans.
So when a human comes back, once they've crossed, are they more of a helping spirit?
It can be. Yeah, there are some. If you talk to some mediums, which you probably have, some spirits aren't really happy, at times. But the
Well, it's time. I'm sorry. It's time for
yeah,
us to take a station.
okay.
Scott and I will return shortly, so don't you go away. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org.
One people, one nation, searching through the night. One people, one nation, searching for the light. One people, one nation, coming from the stars. One people, one nation, to heal this earth of ours. Our gracious Mother Earth. The end has come, the night has fallen. I have reached the end of days. What's real is not, reason fails me. I've gone beyond all known pathways. This is the end of reason. This is the end of time.
Are angels walking among us? With us this hour discussing the angelic realm is Dr. Scott Guerin. Dr. Guerin is the author of Looking for Angels, a guide to understanding and connecting with angels. Scott, how are angels different from ghosts, spirits, or even extraterrestrials?
Yeah. So here's the joke. It's like something is moving downstairs. You go down and you see this being in your living room, and then you wonder, like, is it a ghost? Is it a demon? Is it a ET? Or is it too much tequila from the night before? So
Right.
it's like, what is it? But yeah, they are different, and they are different. Beings and dimensions and vibrations. So you have, as I mentioned, the angelic realm, created in at one time, as a separate kind of species. You have humans. You have humans have passed, transcended. our third dimension of physicality into the fourth and beyond, possibly coming back. And then also the ETs. And those who regularly work with ETs say that it's a different feel. It's because they're at a different vibration. In a sense, my perspective is they are our brothers and sisters that instead of living in another continent, another part of the country, they live in another galaxy. And they are, and actually that's really coming more and more to the forefront in popular, culture right now. But
Have you
yeah,
have
so
you
they're
ever
all
had
different.
have you ever had any contact with, say, the ETs?
Well, okay, interesting question. About a year, no, about 8 or 9 months ago, I came across the practice of scrying, which is the act of, you darkened room, you have a mirror in front of you, you have a candle, and you just kind of gaze at your reflection, and then you just start writing. So that was the instructions I read about. So I did it one time, and I just started writing, and it was all very positive comments, some very specific to specific things I was doing in my life at the time. But I didn't know where, and it was a little bit different from automatic writing, which I do when I write, when I type sometimes. I'll just kind of go into a little glance, like a little blank, and I'll realize like a page was written. And then I'll go back and I'll read it. I'm like, this is brilliant. Like, who wrote this? So this is some spirit connection there. But the scrying, I write with my pencil, and it's not like automatic. It's just the ideas kind of flow. I can't ask questions. It just comes down to, these statements being written down. And so one time I was like, I wonder who that is, what group that is, or spirit or angel or whatever. And maybe 3 or 4 times after 3 or 4 sessions after I kind of put that out there, it said, it just wrote out, we are the Palladians. And so I assume, and I don't, it's these things, how can you prove something like that? But that's who I believe it is. And so that's
So,
who I've been receiving information from for the last 6 months or so.
so do you have any checks and balances? I mean, like we were talking before, there's ghosts, there's spirits, there's extraterrestrials, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mm.
How do you know that the information you're receiving is from someone well-meaning, or for someone that maybe they're well-meaning but they don't know what they're talking about? How can you tell the difference?
Well, it's always, I believe it's always important. And anytime you get into these types of interactions, or if some things are going, knocking or moving around in your house, whatever, you always pray for protection, or ask for protection, that, please, angels, guides, and ETs, please let me experience only things that are for my best and highest good. And so that I believe is important in any case. So that's what I do in general.
So it's
But
kind of like setting intent, and there's
yes,
the parameters, there's your container.
yes, yes. And so I
Okay.
trust that. I trust that God, light, source, the all that is more powerful than anything else. And if I ask for protection, I will be granted protection.
So do
Um,
do angels actually walk among us? I mean, are they right here with us?
In my mind, absolutely. I mean, there's many, many, many stories, and you can you can do a search on Google. You can. There's lots of podcasts about ETs and paranormal and all these types of things, and also angels. And we call them. And so on the podcast, the Psychic Story, we have listener stories that we run once a month, and people send in their stories, and many times stories are like, they were skidded off a road on a winter's night, and a tow truck came by, just happened to come by, pulled them out, towed them to the nearby town, got a hotel for them, and then the next day the woman, this one woman wanted to go and thank the tow truck operator, went to the garage, no tow trucks, no tow trucks in the area, that night. And so, an angel in human form is what, I call them.
What you
But
call
yeah,
it?
many may, or the third man syndrome, sometimes people call that. I was on a podcast a few months ago and they said, so what do you think the third man is? And I kind of blurted out like, well, it's an angel in human form. I mean, come on, like who else could it be?
Yeah. So, what is a guardian angel? I mean, those seem more personal.
Yes. So the way I hear it from different sources, that when I mean sources, I mean people who work with angels on a regular basis, practitioners, angel, communicators. Um, they all say that guardian angels were with us as we were planning this incarnation. And so as we together with our spirit guides say, okay, this is what we're going to learn in this life. And this is when you're going to be born. These are your parents. This is a general scenario that you're going to grow up in. You make a contract with your guardian angels. It could be one, or it could be a few. There's no set number from what I understand, to intervene without your permission. So that is that, the proverbial, accident that might have happened that was averted, or something, chance occurrence would happen.
So
Um,
let me see if I understand. You give them permission before you come this
yes,
time
that's my
to
understanding.
to
Yes.
intervene without permission. Or in other
Yes.
words, they have standing permission. But otherwise, angels can't intervene if they don't have our permission.
No, that is a big thing, and that's a real deal. Is free will. And that angels beyond the guardian angels, the archangels, ascended masters, in even deities, are not going to force their will on us, but they will help us whenever we want. And when we ask, so we have to ask. And I think that's the biggest deterrent in spiritual life, is that in interacting with the spirit world, is that we don't ask. Either we don't think they're going to be there, or we're going to bother them, or it is too trivial, or whatever it may be. But they're standing there ready to help. But we have to ask. That's my perspective on that.
Well, there's lots, and there's been around for a long time. There's this angel and that angel, and they tend to be assigned to something like Archangel Michael or
Mhm.
Raphael, or are those actual personalities or beings, or what's the differentiation there?
Well, that is there's varied opinions on that. Some say, like Nicole Bigley, my co-author, who works with angels in general, every day with people. She says that angels really don't even care about the names. Like they're not that egocentric to care that it's actually a name, or even a gender. They're here to help, and if we need to, if we feel better to call them, Archangel Gabriel or Michael, then that's how they will appear and work with us. Um, and
So it's,
so
it's to make sense to the human mind.
that that seems to make sense. And then along with that has, like, and I forget, there's one archangel that is like the archangel for military police protection. There's another one for health. There's another one, so whether or not that's, my opinion is, it doesn't matter. They're all coming from source to help us out, to learn how to live in light and love and ascend. And so, however we need to work with them and identify with them, that they will be that for us.
So then we also have the saints, okay,
Hmm.
um, and I assume they've been alive, so that means that they're not are they angels as well, or where do they fall in this?
Well, yeah, in our book, we labeled them as ascended masters. And so the saints, I first heard of the saints from the Catholic Church, where you have, and in the Catholic Church has criteria, that you have to, I think, perform like at least one miracle, and show other extraordinary spiritual skills and senses, and then you're voted into be sainthood, I guess. But So in terms of all sacred texts and in even apocryphal text and just modern day angel research, you have that would be ascended masters, and that they would be people who um, in a sense evolved or went to a certain station um, in life. They can't be an angel, because they were incarnated, but they are the kind of special spiritual leaders in our lives.
Well, once again, it's time for a station break. Scott and I will be right back to continue our discussion, so please stay right there. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org.
One people, one nation, searching through the night. One people, one nation, searching for the light. One people, one nation, coming from the stars. One people, one nation, to heal this earth of ours. Our gracious mother. I've been broken, shattered, cast to the wind. I am scattered upon the wind. I've been broken, shattered, cast to the wind. I am scattered upon the wind. I've been broken, shattered, cast to the wind. I am scattered upon the wind.
Do you have a soul team? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. With us discussing Finding Angels is Dr. Scott Guerin. His website, angelintraining.org. Scott, what is a spirit team or a soul team?
Okay, so in our book, Looking for Angels, we identify a spirit team. And a friend of mine who's engineering background, not really sure of this whole spirit world, but a good friend, read the book, every line in the book. It was interesting. He goes, I spent hours trying to think of something different than a team. Like, is there a different word? He said, it sounds like cheerleaders or something, a football team or something. I'm
Well,
like,
we could use that. We could
yeah,
use that.
yeah. So, but in any case, so spirit team is comprised of we all have more than one spiritual uh, person, or entity with us throughout our whole lives, and that could include a variety. Certainly the guardian angels who've contracted with could be archangels. It could be, in a sense, regular angels. It could be ascended masters, loved ones, deities, and extraterrestrials as far as our team goes. And they are all, coordinated. They're all focused, led by, God, source, all that is to help us go in our spiritual journey, which we have worked out with them to say, all right, this is my next step. This is my next incarnation. This is what I want to learn. And we have a team with us.
So, how can we find or connect with our teams?
Well, like the free will thing, all we have to do is ask. And that's what people ask me all the time. Like, how can I do that? How did you do it? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, yeah, a year, 2 years ago, if somebody said, do you have a spirit team? I'd say no. And a year ago, if someone said, do you have psychic abilities? I'd say hard no. But now I have both in spades. I mean, they're just incredible what happens when you just say, when you just ask, please, and you don't have to have a specific formal prayer, like, something you hear in church. You just say, please help me meet my spirit team, or please let me meet one member of my spirit team. And then you just wait, you just, maybe a day, maybe 2 days, a week, whatever it may be, it's going to come.
Does it
And
usually
so
come in dream form or you see them physically?
Well, it's interesting you say that because as part of our book, when we were first developing it, we sent out a survey of 800 to 800 people around the world, and it was about four major areas of the globe. And we asked them, first of all, do you believe in angels? Yes, no, no. Then they're out of the study. Second was, if you have you had a angel experience or intervention? And then if they said yes, we gave them a list of things of what they could experience. And the number one response was dreams that appear or that we experience that are different than other dreams. So the dreams are a very not easy but regular a time in our day, when we're sleeping, where our spirit and the spirit world can interact with us.
So, how does this relate to a higher self? There's a concept of a higher self that also apparently provides guidance. How does all this compare with that?
Yeah, in my understanding, our higher selves is something. All right, so we're multi-dimensional people, or beings. We live in the third dimension right now, physicality, but we can transcend that. Most times when we pass, we easily transcend into the next dimension or above the fourth and beyond. But those who are open to that and have a propensity to explore and experience life in different ways, we can tap into other dimensional realities, and the higher self. From I think a good way to put it is kind of like yourself that is pulled up and can see all your past lives, can see kind of the whole picture as far as your journey goes, and what you're learning here, what you're learning there, in this life and that life. And so the higher self is yourself, your kind of core soul, but on a high level that is kind of not overseeing, but observing um, your life, your soul's journey, from beginning to beyond.
So, frequency wise, because you've talked about different frequencies,
Hmm.
different dimensions, where doth the higher self reside?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know exactly how that works, but from my understanding about frequencies and how we can experience different types of reality, it would be on a high frequency. Who knows? Maybe beyond all the dimensions, maybe there's something outside of the dimensional realities that where our soul, or the vibration of our soul, is whole, is exists. I'm not exactly sure of that.
It's such a huge topic. It's really hard to kind of wrap your head around it, isn't it?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
what all societies embrace angels?
Well, worldwide, well, worldwide, the U.S. leads in the belief in angels, and for decades it's been in the high 60% ranges, and lately, in the last say 15 years, it's getting into the 70 percentile range, where polls and research will come up and do a survey and inform us of that. But then around the world, it's a little bit less. It's kind of spotty in different parts of the world, depending on where you go. Um, for example, one thing I learned in this book was I do a little chapter on each of them.
So, what
Yeah.
what with the societies that embrace angels? Does it have to do with their religious belief that makes them some of them more in
Hmm.
line with believing in angels?
I would say that if you have a society that is embedded, like say in the United States, in general, Christianity is, most people have some sort of Christian religious background, or Christianity and Judaism certainly make up, and so. That would, then certainly they teach about angels. In Islam, in Muslim countries, a belief in angels in Islam is one of the five pillars of faith. Like you have to, if you want to be a serious Muslim, you have to just believe in angels. So that when you look at polls in those countries and cultures, the belief in angels is very high.
So it makes sense that what we're brought up with leaves us more open to concepts than others, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
and I think that there's a shift. Prior to the scientific revolution in the 1600s, there was more belief in kind of spiritual life. But when science kind of stepped in and Newtonian laws came in, and everything is be able to be observed and measured, then angels kind of went away for a while. But I think that's coming back mainly because of quantum physics, and that there are things at the subatomic level that are occurring that don't make sense, like particles being able to exist in two places at the same time, impacting particles at a great distance.
So
So
how
I
does that
think that's
relate to
coming.
angels? You
Well,
lost me on that one.
oh, well, interestingly, so St. Thomas Aquinas was the angel doctor in Catholicism, and then I think in the 1500s he wrote that he thought that angels, when they moved from one place to another, they didn't have to go; they just appeared like from one place to another. They didn't have to go through the spaces in between. And quantum physics, one of the core fundamental concepts is that particles can exist as a wave or a particle. And so that means that a photon, can be in one place as a photon, as a particle, but it can also change to a wave. And so a wave means that that particle appears at any point along that wave, but it's where it stops, the collapse of the wave function, then that particle is in that one fixed location. So that's what he made, and some current physicists said that could be the way angels can move, is that in one sense they exist in all areas at all times, but when they want to appear in a certain place or a certain time, they can instantaneously appear in one place, and then
So
instantaneously appear in another place depending on what the need may be.
so what is a fallen angel?
Interesting. And I just learned another a layer of this. So the fallen angels, the big story was, after the universe was made, God created everything, created the angels. There was one archangel that kind of turned sour, and that was Archangel Lucifer. He wanted more power. And then he and Archangel Michael, and this is all from the sacred text, the Judeo-Christian text. He and Archangel Michael had a war, and there's a falling out, and Lucifer was cast to the earth along with all his followers. So they're saying, in that scenario, the fallen angels were with them. Now, could they be demons? Could they just be evil spirits? Could they be bad angels? Whatever you want to call them. It seemed like the leader of the rebellion was cast out.
Well,
Uh,
it seems to me that that would make people a little bit nervous about trusting angels in general if they can be susceptible to ego and power hungry and all that.
Yes, well, and you have to be. That's why you have to, in the New Testament, St. Paul says you have to test the spirits. So you do. You can't just go wide open like, oh, this is great. Um, there was a group of angels that were sent initially, that were made initially to help humans, but then they were corrupted by one uh, fallen angel called Azazel. I think his name is Azazel, to create havoc and harm humans. And that was in Genesis 6. That was where the Nephilims came from, the hybrids
Interesting.
of
Well,
humans and angels.
we're going to talk about hybrids on the other side of a break. Please stay with us. Scott and I will continue to explore helpers from unseen realms. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org.
One people, one nation, searching through the night. One people, one nation, searching for the light.
dimension are we in anyway? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. We're continuing our discussion with Dr. Scott Guerin. His website, angelintraining.org. Scott, what are the dimensional levels of existence? You've mentioned them several times. What are they?
Yeah, well, the big thing I think, to realize is that we are multi-dimensional beings. We're living in dimensional realities, and there are several levels, and there's a number of sources about this, and some of them are, maybe mentioned in traditional sacred texts, and others are not. They're mentioned and brought to us through other, beings that have transcended this physical plane, collectives like Sarai, like Abraham, like Seth, and these are all entities that have written through humans to write books and things like that.
So is
Um,
channeled information what people call
oh
channeled?
yes, right. And there's a wonderful book by, I think her name is Marianne Handclaw, um, and it's The Alchemy of the Spiritual
Barbara.
Dimensions.
It's Barbara
Barbara,
Hand.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Hand Clow. Hmm.
And she was downloaded from the Palladians, a wonderful book explaining a nine-dimensional model. And then there's other people that have, is there nines, is there 100, whatever it may be. But if you look at a consensus, and almost all the authors say that the third dimension is where we are now. We're in the physicality. Time is segmented into past, present, future. Um, we have to use thought. We have to use words. We can't
But
use that type of thing.
I'm going to have you clarify here, but you said that we're in all sorts of dimensions at the same time, and then you say we're in the third. So which is it?
What I'm sorry. So we're in the third dimension, and the third characteristics of the third dimension is that we experience time in separate sections, of past, present, future, words, and our communication system, are that way. We have to communicate through words, and then also there's a separation, that we view ourselves as separate from other people and other things. When we move out of the third dimension into the fourth and beyond, then the idea of time starts collapsing into the past, present, and future being one, experiencing it at one time, meaning that we can kind of go back and forth, and we see things all happening more in the now, as well as a strong and stronger sense as we go up the dimensions of oneness. And that is a big characteristic as we move out of the third dimension.
Is that the transition that's spoken of that a lot of people talk about moving into the age of Aquarius?
Yes,
Okay, so
yes.
we're probably, given that theory, we're probably in the process of experiencing some of that now.
Well, it's amazing that you say that, because that's kind of where I've been led to talk about in the last few months, is that the ascension process. So, one way to look at it is that we're evolving out of the third into other dimensions. Other people will say we're ascending. We're ascending into a higher dimensional level as a species on this planet. And there was a couple podcasts that I listened to. One was from Rachel Corpus, who channeled the angelic realm, and Sarai, which is a collective, and she was talking with the host, and they spelled out that the humans are at the brink of ascending, of making an ascension out of the third dimension into the upper levels.
Is this
Um,
something that'll just happen to us, or do we have to participate on some level?
in one sense, it kind of happens. Um, just like the numbers of people that identify as spiritual versus religious, people that have the people involved in meditation around the world is increasing. In the U.S., it tripled from 2012 to 2017. So you have a kind of a growing consciousness and openness that's going to happen. But I think there is action that people have to take. They have to consciously say, I'm going to meditate more today, or I'm going to follow that lead. And with that ascension, that means, like I mentioned, the more aware we are that we are connected, that we're all one. Um, Telepathy will start kicking in, psychic senses will start kicking in, and the other big thing is that we will be able. Some people say we will be able to join the Galactic Federation, which means that we will have kind of earned or got to the point where now we can start openly participating with other star nations, aliens, for lack of better words, from um, other star systems.
Well, that can certainly be an interesting time. It's that time in the show, Scott, when I get to ask you, what's your mission?
My mission is to help people who are tentative, unaware, and want to know more about connecting with the spirit world in whatever it may be, whether it be angels, whether it may be a past loved one, and I think what's going to come out more and more publicly now is extraterrestrials. That is going to happen, and I'm here to say, like, okay, it's all right. You don't have to freak out. You can just be open, encourage people to meditate, to connect with their own divine source, to help make this transition as smooth as possible.
It's a bit of a mess out there. Is that because we're in transition?
Yes, that is a big thing. I mean, Neil Donald Walsh a few months ago said it's going to be it's going to be the storm before the calm. And whether what that means, is it catastrophic storm? Is it a really bad storm, or is it like just a tumultuous time? I personally don't know, um, but I think that it is a time of transition, and that transition always has a bit of uncomfortable and even destructive aspects to it to a certain level. So it's going to be. I think it's going to be a little. It's going to be unsettled, to say the least, in the next years. I don't know, 2, 3,
Oh,
5 years. Who knows?
we're sure seeing that. So you spoke about extraterrestrials becoming more involved. Are you talking about physical contact, um,
Well,
spaceships coming down? What are you talking
it's
about there?
coming out more and more and more. I mean, just the other day, there was a U.S. Committee that investigated the committee's. It was an oversight committee, and 3 people on the committee that was being questioned said, yes, we have had contracts and contacts with alien nations in the U.S. for since the late 40s. Uh, Interestingly, I think I can't remember her name. Rebecca Cannon. She's a hypnotist that has been working with people who have been abducted for years and years, and that she's been saying the same thing in her works for the last 30 years, that that angels have been involved with our society, specifically with our governments, to help, and
Angels
it's all
or
been
ETs?
ETs. Yes,
Okay, I
I'm
was
sorry.
gonna say
I'm sorry.
we
Misspoke
could
there.
use some angel
Hmm.
intervention. I won't argue
Yeah.
that. But yeah, yeah. Okay. So why do you see angels as being important at this time, this particular time, as we're going through all this?
Well, I think they certainly, angels, as their mission always has been for our best and highest good, to encourage us along the road that we pick, to ascend to higher levels of love, compassion, oneness, um, all that good stuff. And so they're here. They were created before extraterrestrials, before us, certainly. And then, so it's important that we can acknowledge them, ask for them for help, because they get it. They know what's going on, and they know where we stand in that.
So was the lady you were speaking about, the hypnotist, is that Dolores Cannon?
Dolores, yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I
um,
was trying to puzzle through
and
that. I
I,
got some help from the other side to get that name.
I have one story if we have time.
Well, we're running short on that. If it's a
Okay.
short story.
Okay. I was just in Egypt I was in the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid. I was able to get into the sarcophagus that is in that great king's chamber, and they said you'll experience something. If you want, you can experience something great. So I did that, meditated, astral projection. About the Earth was about the size of a beach ball, and I was in contact with my spirit team, angels, Palladians, my parents, and then Jesus came, and I was sitting down in this state, and he reached over and he pulled me up and he said, "You don't have to sit in front of me anymore." And we just hugged, and that was an extremely real experience for me, very moving, and it just happened 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's interesting. So you say they told you it was going. Who was they?
Other people in the group and other people that are on the spiritual side of things that knew about the pyramid and this.
Okay,
And
so
the,
so you got information from this side on that one.
yes, yes.
Well, it is time, Scott. I'm afraid we are out of time. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Our guest this hour has been Dr. Scott Guerin. He's the author of Angels in Training series. His newest book is Looking for Angels, a guide to understanding and connecting with angels. To find out more about Scott, where you can find his book and all he has to offer, visit his website, angelintraining.org. This has been Mission Evolution with Gwilda Wiyaka. For more information or to enjoy past archived episodes, visit missionevolution.org. But please, be sure to join us right here next time. This mission will continue, bringing information, resources, and support to our evolving world.
I thought